Get NFL Sunday Ticket at its lowest price ever and watch every game every Sunday. Take your NFL experience to even greater heights with NFL Sunday Ticket Deluxe, which gives you Red Zone, bringing you the final yards from around the league along with minute-to-minute NFL fantasy updates. Call us at 601-8992 to sign up today.
The first stage of BEC's privatization process closed yesterday. One of the ministers responsible tells us what's next.
Our timeline for concluding this RFP process is the end of December.
Golden Knight Demetrius Pinder talks to Florida media about his stolen medal.
That's my first. It really hurts.
Thought you heard the last from Cuban protesters? Well, think again. We'll tell you about their latest plans. Plus, how do you handle a divorce? Here's one way.
Say, why don't we have a divorce party?
We've got more on this interesting concept. I'm Nakia DeVoe, and this is NV12 Weekend. Everyone, thanks for joining us this Saturday here at Cable 12 Studios. Now that the tender is closed for private companies bidding to purchase a portion of the Bahamas Electricity Corporation, government has to determine which of 8 companies that bid will take over power generation and transmission, distribution, maintenance of equipment, and customer billing. Minister of the Environment Kenred Dorsett said while he can't confirm whether any Bahamian companies have submitted bids, the liberalization of the energy sector would bring countless opportunities for Bahamian businesses. Paige McCartney reports.
From here, Dorsett said those qualified private companies that have placed their bid will be invited to take place in a second bidding process, expected to take place around October 1st. The company that would control power generation would either enter into a joint venture with the government to become a part owner of the generation company or enter into a management contract, while the company that would have responsibility for transmission and distribution would operate via a management contract. Dorsett said qualified bidders will be those which are technically qualified and which propose an approach that government believes makes sense for the Bahamas.
Our timeline for concluding this RFP process is the end of December, which, if we are satisfied with what's before us, will then enable us to begin the discussions with that service provider in the first quarter of 2014 to ensure that they'll be able to take over by mid-2014.
A major deciding factor for which company will be chosen, according to Dorsett, involves which kind, if any, of renewable energy the company provides. He said at this time he can't say what the popular form of renewable energy is among the bidders, but the most popular in the Bahamas as it stands is solar energy. But he said that's not to say other forms won't be considered.
The government has committed to 30% of energy being generated by renewable energy by the year 2030. We did not factor waste to energy in that. So in other words, as we advance that program, it will be in addition to what we will place on the new generating company in terms of their use of renewable energy. But it does not rule out waste to energy.
Government won't be alone in evaluating the proposals. Dorsett said advisors, including KPMG Advisory Services and international consultants DNV Kama and Hogan Lovells, will conduct the first set of assessments, and a government-established evaluation committee will make recommendations based on those initial reports.
Well, I think it's going to be based on the evaluation process. KPMG and DNV Kima, Hogan's and Lovells and BEC and the members of the government review committee, evaluation committee, will look at all bids, and I think we will then determine those who have the technical capacity to go to the next stage, which will be the pricing and the commercial part of the RFP process.
Dorsett said there are 3 critical benefits of conducting the separation of BEC. They include having specialized focus on each area of the proposed structure at the corporation, transparency in the cost of power, and introducing competition to energy generation. The latter, Dorsett said, gives Bahamians more opportunity in the expanding energy sector, although he could not confirm whether a Bahamian company placed a bid in the tender.
To ensure that the process is transparent, I've really tried to stay away as much as possible. I do know that some of the companies are companies that are familiar to me, and I would assume that they still have Bahamian equity partners in them, but I've been made to understand that we also have some new entrants to the market.
On August 13th, Prime Minister Perry Christie committed to major reforms of the country's energy sector with a view to decreasing the cost of electricity to consumers. For MB12, I'm Paige McCartney.
Well, you've probably heard by now that Olympic gold medalist Demetrius Pinder's gold medal was stolen in Florida earlier this week. On Wednesday, he reported it stolen from his vehicle that was parked outside of his Bradenton, Florida home. He trains at the IMG Sports Academy facility there. Well, one of the main questions that everyone is asking is why the prized possession was in his truck in the first place. Pinder told Tampa, Florida station ABC Action News that he takes it everywhere with him.
I usually, keep it with me. Every time I move from the house, I take it out of the house. Actually, I move from the car, I take it out of the car. Just this one particular night, I didn't take it out of my car just by accident.
Pinder won the medal at the 2012 London Olympic Games in the 4x400 meter relay. He and his teammates were dubbed the Golden Knights after upsetting race favorite Team USA. It was the quarter-miler's first Olympic medal and his most prized possession. Pinder told the Tampa news station that the loss of the medal hurts even more because the win was dedicated to his sister, who passed away days before the race.
I had one more chance to, try to make her proud, and try to do things for her. And, I really put everything in that for my sister.
Now, Pinder says he doesn't care if anyone gets arrested. He just wants his gold medal back. Bradenton police have appealed to pawn shops to notify them if someone comes in with the medal. Meantime, here at home, police are trying to solve a few robberies in the capital. They're looking for a man who they believe was involved in a recent armed robbery, and police need your help. Take a look at this composite sketch of the suspect. The drawing is of a man with a dark complexion, slim build, and he's about 5 feet 5 inches tall. If the man in this sketch looks like anyone you know, police ask that you contact them immediately. Now, officers are also looking for several men who reportedly robbed a man of his 1998 silver Honda Accord first thing this morning. They say the robbery victim was at Robert Street when the suspects attacked him around 12:40 a.m., then sped off in his car. Here are the numbers to call if you can help police find any of the men in these incidents. 919 Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS or any of those shown on your screen. Information will be kept strictly confidential. Leader of the opposition and MP for Killarney, Dr. Hubert Minnis, says the state of the city's roundabouts is appalling. Minnis says many of the roundabouts in New Providence are unkempt and the government doesn't seem to notice or care. Well, we caught up with Minnis yesterday near the roundabout at Cable Beach and Skyline Drive, where he showed us that the grass is overgrown. He is now urging the government to clean up its act.
It's not just here, it's throughout New Providence, and you would see that. We're undergoing an environmental disaster. These are matters that needs to be addressed as a matter of urgency if we are serious as a tourist destination.
Well, our news team took a drive through New Providence earlier this month where we saw several unkempt roundabouts. Some of them were cleaned up after we aired that footage in our news. However, many still remain untouched. Dr. Minnis says the overgrown roundabouts covered in weeds will not give a great first impression to tourists who have come to the island for its beautiful environment. He says he has been after the government to address the issue.
As a representative for Killarney, I have communicated with the Ministry of Works. I have sent email communication to the Deputy Prime Minister, and they're responsible. I've sent communication to Environmental Health. Still no response.
But more importantly, Minnis says the environment should be kept clean for residents. He also commented on the state of many public parks in the capital.
Our parks, our children cannot play in the parks anymore. If you look in the parks, even in the west and throughout New Providence, the parks are overgrown. And you're talking about preventing crime. All of that, crime must be approached holistically. And individuals and families must have a place to gather and socialize with each other.
Well, here's something else that could hurt the country's tourism industry. A group of protesters telling travelers not to go to the Bahamas because of alleged human rights violations. Miami-based Cuban activist group Democracy Movement plans to take its protests against the Bahamas to Florida airports that have flights to the Bahamas. Group spokesperson Ramon Sanchez says this new round of protests will focus on the rights of women who are housed at the Carmichael Road Detention Center. Now, we understand that the group met with representatives from Carnival Cruise Lines last week to discuss the plans. A Carnival representative confirmed the meeting but did not provide any further comment. Sanchez says the group will not relent until the government releases the final report on an investigation into alleged abuse of Cuban detainees at the detention center. Democracy Movement also wants the Bahamas government to put in place measures intended to prevent abuse of detainees and expand its investigation to include allegations of sexual abuse. About 40 protesters held a silent demonstration outside the Bahamas consulate in Miami yesterday. Coming up on NB12 Weekend, the Chamber of Commerce aiming to address challenges in the business community.
In a proactive step, the Chamber is desirous of serving its membership, actually those in our membership and in the broader business community.
And the Director of Education promises no more surprises for government schools in New Providence. NB12 is back right after this.